Hi, welcome to Aqua Expo, the biggest shrimp event in the continent. We're here with Matthew Briggs. Matthew has a master's in aquaculture and fisheries management with a PhD in shrimp nutrition and nursery culture. We're going to talk about co-feeding of shrimp using feed boosters. Welcome, Matthew.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to Ecuador. And thank you for joining us here in this interview and for coming to Aqua Expo in Ecuador again. How does supplemental feeding of shrimp with feed enhancers represent a new model in shrimp nutrition, and what benefits does it provide in terms of growth, survival, and feed efficiency?
Okay, the farmers here have traditionally relied on the formulated diets that are produced by the feed companies here. And in one aspect, those feed formulations haven't changed very much, but the shrimp itself has changed a lot. So for example, 25 years ago when I used to work here in Ecuador, the average growth rate in the ponds was about 1 gram per week. Now it's closer to 2 or 3 or even more. And most of that is a result of the improvement in the genetics of the animal. So they've improved the capacity of that shrimp to grow a lot through genetic selection. But in my opinion, the quality of the diet hasn't increased at the same time, at the same pace as the quality of the animal. So also a lot of the producers here are interested in getting, the lowest unit cost for their feed, because it's the major operational cost of a shrimp farm. It can be around 50% of the operational cost is in feed. So the farmers want to economize as much as they can and spend as little as possible. The issue with that is that the shrimp have the potential to grow extremely fast and to be healthy. But if you're giving them a diet that isn't meeting 100% of their requirements, something has to suffer, whether it's growth rate or survival or resistance to disease. So the concept that we have is to develop a booster which is pelleted to match the pellet size of the animal that you're feeding, and we offer that in combination with the diet. So normally in cricaderos we would use 10% of the diet as the feed booster, so 1 particle of every 10 is the feed booster and 9 particles is the normal diet. In the grower it goes down to around 5%, so that's 1 part in 20. And it's pelleted to the same size as the balanceado, and so you just mix those two together. It's not like your top dressing, you just mix the two together and feed as normal. And what that does is it allows the farmer to control better the nutrition of the shrimp. So it's the farmer's choice whether he uses this product or not. And what happens is that the diet with the biofloc meal, the booster with the biofloc meal, is very attractive to the shrimp and they want to eat it, and it improves the digestibility of the ingredients in the diet and enhances that diet and provides a number of bioactives that are not available in a normal shrimp diet. So in effective terms, the shrimp is able to eat more diet and convert it more efficiently into flesh, into shrimp tissue, and so it can grow faster. It's better resistant to diseases, so the survival rate is better, and it's capable of resisting the diseases that occur normally in the shrimp farm. So you get an improvement in feed intake, in growth rate, in survival and disease resistance. And that's really what it provides to the farmer. But it's his decision whether he wants to improve the nutritional formulation by using this booster.
What method has been developed by the Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organization, and what is its impact on the aquaculture industry?
Okay, so the base of the booster product is something we call Novac Pro, which stands for Novel Aquaculture Ingredient. And this product was developed about 15 years ago by CSIRO, the industrial research organization as part of the Australian government. And Ridley, my company, took the license to manufacture and distribute the products containing this biofloc meal Novak or Novak Pro. So CSIRO patented the original Novak product about 10 years ago, and then they granted us the license to produce and distribute that product. But in the last 10 years that Ridley have been working together with CSIRO, we have improved the process for the production of the biofloc meal, to improve the quality of it, to make it have more effect on the shrimp, be more bioavailable, and promote better growth and survival. So we've taken that original patent and improved upon it, and from the original biofloc meal, which we use in our diets that we sell to our shrimp customers in Australia, we've now developed this booster product which contains a high percentage of that biofloc meal that we sell directly to the farmers, who can use it as a complementary feedstuff to their normal diets. So in Australia, all of the diets that Ridley produces for shrimp contain this Novak. And we're just now starting to go abroad and start to put that product into international markets. That includes Ecuador here, Indonesia, India and Thailand in the first instance, but we have the ability to sell anywhere we want. So in Australia, all of our customers are very happy with the results they get when we put the Novak Pro into their diet. And we're now trying to translate that into the international markets. And our productive capacity is such that we can supply not just in Australia now, as we could originally, but internationally as well.
What percentage of dry biofloc is contained in the granular feed enhancers developed in the last 2 years?
The boosters contain roughly 87% of biofloc. The other ingredients are some immunostimulants, some feeding attractants, and a binder to be able to form pellets with that product, and a little bit of oil as well. But the vast majority of the ingredient is the pure biofloc meal, so the dried bacterial biomass.
Okay. What positive effects are observed when the enhancers are introduced early in the life cycle of the shrimp?
We've got products that are specifically made to use in each stage of the shrimp life cycle. So we have products for larvae all the way from zoea to PL, for post-larvae, for nursery, for the initial stages in the grow-out, and for the final stages in the grow-out. And what we found is the earlier you introduce it, the better it is, and the more cost-effective it is. So the area in Ecuador that we're targeting really is the nursery culture, post-larvae and nursery culture, because you get the most bang for your buck there. You don't need much product because they're not eating a lot of feed. So it's more cost-effective at that stage. And if you start feeding the animals early on, they get good resistance to diseases, their growth rate is good, and they have the capacity to go on and translate that into fast growth and good survival in the ponds.
What results have been obtained in commercial and laboratory trials with the different species such as Vanamay and Monodon?
Yeah, obviously in Australia we're not allowed to grow Vanamay because it's a non-indigenous species and the authorities don't allow it in. So all of the culture in Australia is based on black tiger shrimp, Penaeus monodon. And as I say, we've got it in all of our diets that we supply to our local farmers there, all the way from larvae up until the finish of grow out. Here, that is the Novak Pro biomass that we put into our diets. So it's applicable to do that, but in international countries, it's more suitable that we give the farmer the opportunity to use this product. So we form the boosters which contain that high level of Novak Pro in them, and we offer that to the farmer. So Normally we use that at a rate of between 5 and 10% of the total diet, depending on the stage of the life cycle that we're feeding to.
How do enhancers contribute to the improvement of immunity and survival rates in shrimp exposed to bacterial or viral challenge tests?
Yeah, it's interesting. We've done a lot of disease challenge work, principally in Thailand, where we have cultured shrimp and then exposed them to pathogens including Vibrio, normal Vibrio, the Vibrio that carries the toxins that cause EMS or AHPND, and also for viral diseases such as white spot. And in each case, when we feed the animals with the Novak Pro bacterial biomass, whether in the diet or used as a supplement to the normal diet as a booster, we found improvements in the not only the growth rate but in the survival and the resistance to all of those diseases. White spot's a bit of a challenge. It's pretty severe, but bacterial diseases like vibriosis and EMS or AHPND, we've had improvements depending on the level of the Novak Pro you put in the diet. We've had improvements of up to 40% survival in the chase of it, in the face of a disease challenge with those bacterial agents. And of course, if you have combinations of diseases, which you always have, like you have a bacterial infection and then you get a virus like white spot on top, things get much worse. If you can control the bacterial problems, for example with the use of this product, the viral problems become much less severe. So even though it doesn't have a massive effect on the virus directly, it improves the ability of the animal to resist both bacterial and viral diseases, which helps survival.
What advantages have been identified in terms of shrimp growth and culture cycle reduction when using these enhancers?
That largely depends on the system of culture. So a lot of the trials that we did initially, and we've got peer-reviewed papers published in the literature with Novak and Novak Pro and the boosters. We've got about 17 of those papers. So we've done a vast amount of work, both in conjunction with CSIRO, with Monodon, and with research facilities in Thailand. So the initial trials were largely done in tanks, and we've got up to a doubling in the production when we include either the Novak in the diet or the Novak Pro in the booster. So in some cases in that where there's no other source of nutrition and you're using the biofloc meal as a supplement to the normal nutrition, we've doubled production, and that has resulted from an improvement in growth rate and survival. In farms, it also depends on the intensity. So we've been doing a lot of work with super intensive shrimp farms where the feed that you offer is the only source of nutrition for the animals. And we've had similar results in those systems as well. At least a 50% improvement in the biomass, increase in biomass. In farms, the shrimp, especially semi-intensive farms like here in Ecuador, they have a lot of natural productivity that is not available in tanks. And some of that is bacterial biofloc that they find naturally in the ponds themselves. So the effects aren't as dramatic in semi-intensive pond farm systems. But you still get an effect, roughly 15%. We've done a lot of work with Vanamai in Thailand at relatively high densities, like 60 per square meter. And in the initial stages, we've seen 30% improvement in growth rate. And later on, by the end of the cycle, about 15%. So that's why we're recommending this product for use in the early stages of the cycle, particularly in the nursery phase, to really give them a good head start and get them growing and get them more resistant to diseases. And that effect carries on into the grow-out ponds as well.
And finally, how do the enhancers impact on the feed conversion rate and environmental sustainability?
Yeah, that's an interesting point also. Normally we see an improvement in food conversion ratio of about 10 to 15%. And the reason that happens is that the bioactive molecules within the bacterial biofloc promote the ability of the shrimp to convert the nutrients in the feed into shrimp biomass. And so you see a much better food conversion ratio, and you see a much better conversion of protein from the feed into the shrimp biomass as well. So normally we see a 10 or 15% improvement in food conversion ratio. The other work that we've done, especially in Australia, is that there's an increasing trend to want to replace marine proteins like fish meal and krill meal with land-based proteins which are more sustainable. And we have done trials in commercial shrimp farms in Australia where we've incorporated the Novak Pro bacterial biomass into the diet and eliminated all of the fish meal and the krill meal. So everything is based on plant proteins, plus the Novak, and we've got the same result as if the diet was full of fish meal. So that's one thing, is that you can, the Novak Pro bacterial biofloc meal can help to reduce or eliminate the marine proteins in the diet, but also we found that you can even reduce the level of protein in the diet, and when you incorporate the bacterial biofloc meal, you get the same result as if you'd had a higher protein. So of course that translates into having less nitrogen in the system, so less ammonia and less nitrogenous waste that you're discharging from the farm, which is something that's very important in Australia because all the shrimp farms are on the North Queensland coast right next to the Great Barrier Reef, and so there's severe restrictions on how much nutrient you can discharge to the environment. And that is getting translated worldwide, where the certification bodies are saying you've got to improve the food conversion ratio every year, you've got to reduce the amount of nitrogenous waste that you're discharging into the environment, and the bacterial biofloc meal has a role to help those processes as well.
Thank you very much, Matthew, for this interesting interview, and welcome again to Aqua Expo.
Thank you. It's delightful to be here. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.